currently doing around here?
I'll have to give up another day. I'll go around. But keep it up back. Take you up and then tactic.
See you later, Ian. We're going live. 5, 4, 3, 2, duck my shit. Live. Oh, what have I just knocked?
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to Rowdies Live. Rowdies Live. It's like herding bees. Rowdies Live on the Rock and Roll Rowdies channel. Greetings to one and all. Felicitations. Happy Thursday. How are you all, gentlemen?
Champo.
Yeah, we're good.
Great. Well, I'm pleased to hear it.
We're having the first coolish day in LA for weeks. It feels good.
Oh, Granny's frozen already.
Just in honor of the weather.
As soon as he was going to take his t-shirt off, it froze. Yeah, good. Well, I'm glad to hear it. And go ahead, my friend.
Yeah.
Wilco. We can hear you.
Well, I just want to say hi to
Technology
everybody.
hell.
Can you?
We can hear you. You're a bit choppy, but we can hear you. But keep working on it.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say that, you know, I can't wait to leave Hartlepool. I'm sitting in the backyard, at 10 degrees. It's freezing. My goalies are rolling down the back of the end of the yard, and I just can't wait to get to Liverpool because it's nice and sunny.
Liverpool. I've never heard anybody say, I can't wait to get to Liverpool for the weather. That's the first. It's an all-time first. Dustin's dropped out, but hopefully he'll join us again. Mal, my friend, I hope you're feeling better. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, the drugs are working, you know.
Indeed.
It's just like, you know, like everything. You just got to get the right balance with the drugs.
It's an art form. You know, that's the one great thing about getting older is we get all these legit drugs that we can use and they're all prescribed. Yeah, all legal, street legal. Before we proceed with today's insanity, I would like to say hello to everybody in the chat. We got Davina and Christian are there already. Thank you for being here, folks. Make sure you hit the like button, share out the stream. Let's get some more people in here to watch us as we do this tomfoolery. But yeah, good to see you guys. Thanks for being here. And Dustin is coming back in. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Chance to escape. Better. Was this chance to escape, Dustin? You sucked back into the vortex.
I need Dustin's my crutch. I need him to help me. So
like a walking stick.
Indeed. So what we've had some interesting conversations recently, and last week was really good. Although we were only half a set of rowdies last week. We've got a 3/4 of a set. Mark may pop in later as well, and I know he's listening. We wanted to talk just about what it is you guys really did, because you know, I'm still a little bit unsure of the difference between a roadie and a road manager and a tour manager and a promoter and an accountant. So there's all these different roles. You guys, what was it you did? How did you do it? And what was the damage and cost of such things?
Well, there never used to be all of these people. It was a manager and a roadie, and he would hire a couple of extra people. And so it was only in the 70s where you started getting all these differentiations. There might have been big acts had a tour manager for the television and stuff. But eventually, because the business expanded, it became so convoluted. You needed production managers, and it all cost money. So that's where the accountants came in. Wilco did a bit of all of that.
Wilco, yeah,
I
accountant.
never really did too much of that box office stuff. I mean, Wilco did some big ones. It was just certain people were good at it. but it just expanded along with all the technology, and all the bands well, it went from being groups to bands, and that was the first step. Talked about that before.
Well, that's true. Yeah, it was bands.
Yeah, that was the first.
Yeah, I mean it's. I mean, as you're saying, Randy, in back in the day before you had all that, I mean, was it you? Just say there was 3 guys, a band manager and a couple of roadies. Were you booking all the hotels, the planes, the trains, the automobiles? How did all that happen?
That started in the mid-70s, really. When you started to do things out of England, obviously you had to have some accommodations provided. In the early days, you often just were told the city, and you'd be lucky if you had a room. That's my first gig in out of the country with Van der Graaf Generator. Very first gig, overnight drive. We slept in the van. We got to Milan, and there was no room for me. So I slept on the floor in one of the band's rooms. Incrementally, it got better, but right time. Travel agents got involved.
The very van that you did the deed in.
I tell you, I have just put together a Rowdies diary for the 6 or 7 months I was with Van der Graaf, and you can't keep up on all the different breakdowns and tires and clutches and mirrors and being towed to gigs and towed off the ferry. It's incredible.
Oh, right, like you couldn't drive off it; you had to be towed, or it was
when your front bearings have gone, you're blocking, and you're blocking the whole ferry can't unload because your truck is on the last one on, the first one off.
Yeah, I'm sure Wilco's bearings have gone a few times. Oh, we can't hear him now.
He's gone again.
He's gone again. We can't hear you, buddy. It's not a distance thing, but anyway.
He can't hear us saying that we can't hear him.
That's right. I don't think he can.
Back then, of course, we didn't have the communication that we've got today.
Right.
So, anything went wrong, you were on your own. You had to fly by the seat of your pants back then.
Yeah, I mean, everything would be telephone.
Road warriors, That's what we were. We were the road warriors.
Well, there's an example, though. I mean, there's you in Italy, Granny. What if you had to make a phone call? Were there lots of public phone boxes to use? Or
you'd pull over into a village. Yeah. If you were lucky to be on the auto route or an autobahn, it might be the service area. But you had to book a call. Sometimes you'd go into a little village, it'd be a post office, and you'd book a phone call, give them the number, they'd tell you which cabin to go in, a little cabinet, and then you'd make the call, and on your way out, you'd pay for it.
Yeah, or maybe not.
Well, no.
No comment.
I hope the statute of limitations are up on most of this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'd be in jail many times. I'd be on a life sentence for some of the stuff I've done.
Well, what I used to do when I used to arrive in Europe was I used to drive to the first taxi rank and just pick up a taxi and go, take me to this address.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the quickest way. And then as soon as I got back to England, the management would go, what's all these taxis you're taking? It's like, I'm getting to the gig.
So true.
You couldn't win.
I don't remember anybody ever asking.
The right thing, but it was like.
Sorry, Buggy.
Oh no! Quite a few times I used to pull in. Well, remember when I was with the Average White Man? That was my first European tours, and I had a couple of Scotsmen next to me, and they were like, I'm not going to see what they were doing, but they weren't there. So I was driving all the truck by myself. So I just put into a taxi rank and go, got this address, and go, oh yeah, follow me. And I used to just find the gigs no matter where I was going.
Hey,
it would cost about whatever it was going to cost, but that's what I did.
Did you have one of these?
I tell you, Mal, I throw nothing away.
An international driving permit issued by the Automobile Association.
Seriously.
Oh my God, who's that?
Only Grange would have got one of them.
I took it seriously.
I'm sure Wilco never got one. Only Grange.
Yeah. I keep missing half of this. I've got to look at it.
But yeah, it's I can't imagine Wilco or Mal you ever bothered to get one of these. But you just drove overseas anyway, didn't you?
I didn't even have a license.
It's just I love the mugshot in this one. It's it's a real mugshot. But I'm not picking on you, Granny, but
go for it.
you had an experience I wanted to talk about in a Turkish prison. No, that's not it. That's you went to Berlin with, who was it with?
Oh, who was it? This is Average White Band. 1980.
Average White Band. You weren't. Was it just you, or was Wilco or Mark?
No. This was a crew bus. It was agony. It wasn't a tour bus like modern touring with bunks and beds and TVs. This was just like a city bus with no window drapes, no lay down seats. You just rode it. We got through it by being drunk 98% of the time we were in the bus. It was horrendous. And so we were just going from Hamburg to Berlin, and the main way you would go was from Hanover, which was an official autobahn. But we went through a country route, and I was taking pictures. Everybody was shitting their pants.
This is East Germany under communist rule. Yeah.
Unsere Stadt, we will protect it. Something like that's what that banner means. And the tank, there was like fields full of tanks, all pointing west. And there'd be a Soviet commissar strutting around. They'd be looking at us, and we'd go rolling through with our long hair, because there was nowhere to hide. There was no drapes. They could see us. And then this is why I was taking pictures. There was a railway crossing, and there actually was a steam locomotive pulling that train.
Wow.
So look at the girl in the car at the bottom right. She's looking like, who are these freaks?
Oh, God, yeah. She'd be, she was actually, if she had a cell phone, she'd be ratting you out to the Stasi right there.
That's right, yeah. So the train came through.
You've been taking pictures of the girl and not the train.
That's right. He's taking the train.
Yeah.
Look at the size of that engine. But yeah, this is an incredible experience. But I mean, the gig was in Berlin, so yeah, part of the West. Yeah. And you weren't flying there for cost reasons, I'm assuming. Was it cost?
No. Well, the cost would have been a factor, because they always would save money with the crew. You'd always like cut costs, and we would have hotels most of the time, but some nights you wouldn't. You'd just be all night in this horrible bus with daylight coming in, and you're hungover. Yeah. So Bruderbund, together, like brothers together.
It must have been a hell of an experience. And the gear, was the gear in the bus, the band's gear?
No, the band that would be on a truck.
Okay,
it would go on its own way. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, that must have been eyed suspiciously, I would imagine, by the...
Well, when you got to the checkpoints, you see these spy movies in the 50s and stuff, or black and white films. They'd come out with the dogs, and they'd have mirrors. They'd roll mirrors underneath the bus looking for things. And you drive through a kind of a building with mirrors in the roof so they can see if anything. But what are you looking for? Who's going to smuggle anything in? Maybe contraband, drugs.
Cigarettes would be a thing. Cigarettes, I would imagine. Yeah. Well, that's a hell of an experience to actually go through. I mean, you didn't stop, though. You went straight through.
On this occasion, we didn't. I don't remember a stop. It wasn't anything to stop at.
Right.
There wasn't anything. Just if you were looking, even in Berlin, the supermarket shelves at East Germany were empty.
Well, you could stop to look at trains. I mean,
we did. Yeah, you could probably stop and buy vodka.
You look at the girls. You could look at the girls. Yeah. It's a hell of a thing. Yeah, so it just shows the variety of stuff that you guys had to do. You all had similar experiences in different places that must have been not the normal.
Well, that was, as thrilling as that was, I mean, it's definitely like you think. I did. I went behind the Iron Curtain a few times, and it was thrilling and a bit scary. You didn't know you could just be disappeared at any time for saying. And I'm Big G today, which honoring my loudmouth tendencies. Could get myself into trouble really easily anywhere. And so I must have kept my mouth shut in East Germany.
I don't know, the Wilco and Mal. Did you guys ever tour behind the Iron Curtain of any kind?
Yeah, lots of times.
Yeah, you went over Russia.
I went from East Germany to West Berlin lots of times, but I took the safe auto route, if you could call it that. If you could call it that, because it was really, there was armed soldiers everywhere, tanks. If you deviated, they clocked you in at a certain time, so they knew what time you should arrive at the checkpoints. And if you didn't, they would question you. Where have you been? What happened? It was scary, and there was all these tanks pointing at the west all the time. Those things were pointing west.
Yeah. Trying to take the average white band out. Shoot on sight.
Exactly. They were looking for granny.
Not with me on board. Not with me on board. They wouldn't do that.
So I've got Christian's asked a question. What is the worst road in Europe to drive the van, or indeed drive anything on?
Yeah, I just showed you the photograph, didn't I?
Yeah.
Well, that one.
Anywhere in East,
Well, actually, the one that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, going from the west into east. I mean, when I went to 70s, you could see all the bullet holes from the Second World War. And it was just unbelievable. It was just big potholes, big holes where the bombs went. It was still there. It was unbelievable. And then you get to the customs and they go, rock and roll band? Yeah. T-shirts? Yeah. Okay. Open that case. You had to open a couple of cases for them to check it out. You didn't have drugs, cigarettes, whatever, And that was the only thing I did. But me going into Berlin, that's what I remember, driving on that road and just seeing all the devastation from the Second World War,
Yeah.
It was mental.
Even in Berlin, they didn't bother mending a lot of stuff. I went into East Berlin a few times, and it looked like Hartlepool on a Saturday night. Everything was all boarded up, derelict. It was.
You mean there was drunken naked women lying on the ground?
I thought I was at the Bellevue Club walking around the museum.
No. Just devastation.
No, it was real though. Wilco said there were great chunks out of the walls, and they didn't bother fixing anything. It was just sort of patched up. You go there now, and all these palaces have been reconstructed. And back then, they weren't very big on having churches, atheist state. So these churches were just left to molder, and it's all been transformed. It was amazing.
I thought you would have said the A1 was the worst road to drive on.
No. At 5 a.m, coming back.
No, I loved the A1.
Because you were going home, yeah.
The A1 was full of pubs. That was the good thing about it. You stop at every other pub.
Before the motorway, yeah.
The A1 was
not
the A1, buddy.
Yeah,
the M1, forget that.
The A9 would be pretty bad. Yeah. Just
actually, I think I used to we did gigs in Cromer, which is on the East Coast, like in Suffolk or Norfolk, one of the two. Excuse me, people back there. And coming back was always foggy. It was agony driving in fog. Just your eyes would be rolling in your eyes. You couldn't. That was tough. It wasn't the road itself.
East Anglia, you could call it. That covers both of them.
Yeah, there you go. I could have said that.
Lina, hello to you. Good to see you.
Gorgeous gentlemen.
Great friend of the channel. Lovely to see you too. She has a question. How did you used to deal with unprofessional crew stuff? Unprofessional crew as opposed to band, I guess, and like other crew.
Well, for me, I used to just push them out.
Constituted unprofessional.
Define unprofessional, but Wilco's got an answer.
Well, most of the stuff we did in England, first of all, it was like we all helped each other out because there was no such thing as union. And if you did get a road crew, which was very unusual, they would get the gear in, but after the show, they'd be so drunk you couldn't even trust them to pick anything up. So a lot of big bands used to we used to go to Speakeasy. And some nights I just go down there and just get a gig to help unload and load trucks, and that would pay for my drink for 3 days. That's what it was about. Everybody was using everybody else within the business because everybody else was going, I'm at an average white band gig. I'm at fill it, whatever gig it was, and they would just get shit-faced, and you couldn't rely on them. So
not like us.
It was all us working together as roadies.
You guys were
we're all roadies. We all knew each other. We all got to know each other.
We never got drunk.
Are there
if
people...
we were shit-faced, we had to pick a cabinet up.
Are there people that, I mean, not naming names, but were there people that basically got rejected for future use under any circumstances that might have been on the scene, but guys who were working with them, and they just fucked up so badly.
I'm sure there was.
They always got hired though, but there was always a gig somewhere. Somebody who was just maybe be cheap. There's always some guy you go like. I never consider myself like the top professional, but
come on.
But there were guys. No, I mean, but there were guys that you just knew were just useless. Like, by our standards, were like we would take care of whatever it took. But just there was some people you go, how does he keep getting hired?
Yeah, and you had to work with them though. I mean, you might have had to work with them.
Sometimes, yeah.
Hello to Courtney, by the way.
Yeah,
good to see you, Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
Great friend of the channel.
I think we're going to start giving out like digital green stamps for people that come on the site regularly. Courtney and Davina, Dustin, and a lot of the regulars, they're all going to start getting green stamps.
Well, we'll get them special. We'll play special video clips for them. You know, we got stuff. And
that's right, you do. Yeah,
hang on, I got something. Here we go. This one.
Let's rock! Let's rock! Let's rock.
Let's rock, Duffy.
Let's rock and roll. Let's rock!
Because once we get the super chat thing going, then people will they'll get their digital green stamp in the form of a video. You see, so but good to see you, Courtney, and Davina. Davina is saying it would be lonely packing up if everyone else takes off after the show. I guess during the show, you guys were kind of not really doing anything. It was after the show you're back to work again. Well, drinking, but
no, we were busy.
Yeah,
as roadies, you've got to be on your toes for the entire show.
Yeah,
Tour managers, different production managers. When the show's on, you can relax a little bit. But there's always work to do, especially as the tours got bigger. But as a roadie, when the band were on stage, you had to pay attention because anything could happen.
So you're
and you had
the
to
back
be
line
there to sort it out.
Yeah, if it's changing strings, fixing the back line.
Yeah, but it wouldn't always be high tech.
Drums were a thing that just had a mind of their own, like drummers. They're just a different breed.
Well, Granny knew how to deal with that. He just nailed the drum kit to the floor.
Nail everything down.
They still moved.
That's one of my other names. One of my other personalities is Granny the Hammer. Yeah. We haven't had him on yet.
So it wasn't high tech, though, as you were going to say, Granny. It's not high tech.
Some of it was. Well, Mal's right. I couldn't imagine doing it now. Crouch by the side of the stage. You're watching in case he might drop a pick. He might drop a drumstick, whatever. With the average white band, I used to look after 3 guys. There was just the 2 of us did all the equipment, and we had it pretty much down. But you suddenly realize that one of the sax players' wine glass was getting a little low. So you'd have to get the red wine. So Molly Duncan, it was his birthday the other day. Molly, love you. I was working, so I couldn't have a curry on his birthday. But he'd go, no wine, no show, like Wilco will tell you. Well, you kept his glass filled up. So I was the official average white band wine bastard.
So you're the
more wine bastard.
Sommelier.
Yeah.
Sommelier.
A smelly what? Yeah. I'd never thought of that though. I mean, guys are eating and drinking on stage. Was it up to you to bring them whatever?
With the band.
Yes.
I mean, you'd know what they wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to do everything.
I had a flight case on stage quo. I had a flight case at the side of the stage with bits of strings and plectrums and bits and pieces I may need for guitars. But on the top shelf was the special needs. We had a mirror with grooves cut in it. We had a little drawer with, joints rolled, ready to go.
Bottles of expensive brandy, all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what you had to do. You had to make sure. Slade, another one. The drummer from Slade on an American tour that I did with those guys, he'd lost his sense of taste and smell. Don,
yeah.
But he used to like to drink vodka and tonic. So he'd be going, drink. So you just pour him tonic water and hand it to him, Otherwise, he would fall off the stool. You kept feeding. he never knew because he had no sense of taste and smell. So,
I remember you remember the incident that Keith Moon collapsed over the drum kit, and they had to play. They got a 19-year-old student came out from the crowd to play, and he was brilliant.
Yeah,
they dragged Keith Moon off. He'd taken horse tranquilizers. You know, I guess you were having to keep your eyes open for anything like that.
All of that type of stuff.
I went for a band called The Replacements. I went for a band called The Replacements, and they were absolutely fantastic. They were sponsored by Warner Brothers. And one night I was backstage and I was like, where did The Replacements come from? And they went, oh, you want to see? I went, yeah. So all of a sudden they're pouring whiskey down the drummer's throat 10 minutes before they go on. I'm going, what are you doing? You're going on in 10 minutes. Like, oh, I'm going to show we got our name, The Replacements. So they go on stage, and after 3 songs, the drummer falls off his kit. And I'm going, oh, this is very nice. A kid jumps up from the stage, starts playing drums. Perfect. I'm going, oh, okay. So I drag him off. 10 minutes later, Tommy Stinson goes, I've had enough of this. He walks off. Somebody else gets on and starts playing bass. And by the end of the show, there's not one of the original band on stage. The Replacements.
It
was classic. It was fantastic. I was like, okay. And they were playing. It took me an hour to get them off fucking stage. Okay, enough, you know. But that's what it was about. It was just having a good time, getting on stage and understanding the band you're with. Because it all changes with all the different bands, you know, all the bands I was with, Granny was with, Mal was with. It's a different ball game, you know.
You mean that some guys were more uptight than others, or like bands?
There was a bit of uptightness on a couple of the tours I was with. I'm not going to mention the names, but it's like, it's either you're going to work with or work without, you know, or you're going to get an out, they pull loafing. Which one you want, you know? You know, so it was some of them were pretty tough. I've got to say, you know, but I got around a lot of it and just got it done, like Granny and Mal did. We just got it done, whatever it took.
What about security, though? I mean, if you go back to the early 70s when you guys started, there would be no real. Well, there might be venue security, I guess, but there would be no security. Like
there's no security at all.
You as roadies would have to be looking out to the crowd, and you know that guy's going to cause trouble, and somebody had to stop him getting on stage, maybe, or.
Yeah, that's where Big G came in.
With, go on, Molly. Go ahead.
No, I say that's where Big G came in. Yeah. You know, Granny the Hammer.
Granny the Hammer. The Hammer.
Yeah, I couldn't fight my way out of a paper bag, but I was big and loud.
There must have been some dodgy moments, though, I would have thought, over the years.
I had a beard like Dustin's.
Yeah.
Different color.
And all those naked women trying to get on stage.
Well, they would let them on. We'd let them through. Just stop their boyfriends.
Well, we all know.
Well, you know, the first gig I ever did.
Go ahead, Mick. Yeah.
He's gone.
Suspense is killing me.
He's keeping us hanging. Just
he looks like a politician. He's like that guy. He just froze in mid-sentence.
Exactly. Yeah, he's. Maybe we should be putting a term limit on Wilco.
Mitch O'Connell. Wilco's doing a Mitch O'Connell impersonation.
We should put a term limit on Wilco.
Oh, I've said that for years.
Brian, I'll send you a picture of myself fighting what looks like I'm fighting with Phil Collins.
All right, okay. And by email, I can get that up.
But in actual fact, I wasn't. I was rescuing him. You know.
Yeah, we all know. Of course, we all know why the naked girls, were trying to get on stage. Of course,
I know what was coming.
Yeah,
it never gets old.
I knew what was coming.
Yeah, you know, I could handle myself.
But I mean, the shorts were getting rocked a lot by you, Mal. I mean, come on.
Yeah, look at that. You know, those are kind of.
The interesting thing about those shorts is they're tucked on. You've tucked them underneath.
I know, like a diaper.
What happened there? I think they were elasticated legs or something. You know,
like a kid's diaper.
Keep the sweat in.
Yeah. And this is a different era, of course, where you're in the big stuff now. I mean, these must have been a ton of organizing, a shitload of organizing. How did you organize?
Just had pushed you.
I think it's another. Well, that's a different one. Sorry, that's a different picture.
All right, yeah,
that's handsome guys.
Yeah, that's at Earl's Court on a. There was a exhibition, sound, lights, everything. Buford Jones on the right there.
Yeah,
he was one of the guys I'd done my first tour with. He was the sound engineer then, and he was the sound engineer on Pink Floyd when I worked with Pink Floyd.
Of course, okay.
Mark and Wilco there,
Because actually, here's one I wanted to just talk about, which is you and Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
So that was what, 80?
No, maybe 81.
81. So in terms of the business, were you tour managing that? Were you road manager?
No, I was stage manager on that one.
Stage manager. So that beautiful stage with all the lights.
Peter, Ian Tucker, the boy, as we called him, myself, Albert Lawrence, who was like in charge of production and everything.
Yeah.
And that's getting ready to go on tour, on an American tour, Shock the Monkey.
Yeah. But what I wanted to ask was that we've seen the video clips of that tour with that great sort of lighting, lit, the cubes on stage are all lit.
Yeah.
Was that something that was that something given to you by the production manager as a design, and then you had to go and get the gear to do that, or how did that work?
Yeah, well, that was pretty much Peter's idea. That's what he wanted.
Yeah.
And then we had to make it happen. That's what we're doing right there in this, we were putting all the bits together for the tour.
Did you actually have to source all that lighting and stage stuff and buy it all?
Yeah, we had to have it. Yeah, I mean, we didn't actually make it, but we had to source it, get it,
put it together, get it, try it, and you did it all in a warehouse, and then you take it on tour. You test it all out.
Yeah.
So way bigger production.
Probably production rehearsals to make sure everything was, everything was working tickety boo.
Yeah. So way bigger than even 10 years before. Like the stuff you were doing, it's totally different. Yeah.
Totally different. I hadn't done a tour before. Up until then, it was just a case of a backdrop at the back of the stage, very much like Average White Band. That's all anybody, Uriah, that's all anybody had back in the day. Backdrop, very painted, very elaborate. They cost a lot of money, those backdrops, but it usually was the album sleeve that they were promoting.
Yeah, something simple like that.
Other than that, there was a drum riser maybe. Other than that, nothing else on stage. And doing that with Peter Gabriel, that was a big step up. There was all kinds of stuff going on, special lighting, special staging, that all fitted together.
You think when you think back like Granny to the Gnidrolog days and Van der Graaf, do you think they would have killed to have a stage set up like Peter Gabriel's back in that day?
Well, I know that Van der Graaf kept going. I mean, they managed to survive when I left. They managed to, just joking. They reformed. They reformed about 3 years later, and by then the technology had caught up quite a bit. So they actually had monitor systems and real equipment. And so Pete Donovan, who we're going to try and get on one of these days, he was their guy after he and I worked in Stackridge, another quirky English band. But he became their production manager, and I saw them in the Beacon Theatre in New York in about 1975, 76. And it was like a real gig by then. And so it was like it had already evolved. And I'm sure the band then had new headaches of what's it cost to put this show on?
Bigger all the time.
Yeah, because I was actually this last couple of months I've been hearing from the guys that have written a book on Van de Graaff generator, and they've been firing emails backwards and forwards. And I've been putting together a diary of my 6 or 7 months with them. And you look at the money involved in the equipment, it was incredibly basic. And somehow or other, they were paying for it with very poor record sales and getting 60, 70 quid a night.
Yeah, of
So
which
4 years,
most of it went to you.
Well,
so
no, but no, 4 years later, you got thousands of dollars worth of this, more crew, exponentially became more business-like. It would have to change the whole vibe of doing a tour. They probably had accountants and budgets, which we never did before.
Tour accountants are the worst. They're a pain in the ass.
That's right.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Wilco.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
Did you see this picture, Wilco? Can you see that?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Buford
Nice.
Jones did the Average White Band, Mark Emery, and I think that's Craigsy.
It is Craigsy.
Hi, Craigsy.
His posture is better in that
know.
one.
I know.
So you can't see the package, so you can't identify him. So.
Yeah, right. His puddings are not hanging out.
So I did want to talk, Wilco, if you can hear us.
No,
okay,
but you see, Granny turned on to me once and he goes, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can, yes.
Okay, well, I did tour accounting for the Allman Brothers and also for Linda Ronstadt. And basically what a tour accountant does, he overlooks all the money. End of story. All the hotels, per diems, payroll, limousines, everything that needs to be paid on the road. That's what I did, which took me away from the tour management, which was basically all the other stuff that needs to be really done, So you kind of get a kind of a break from it, but it's still, you walk in there, you're doing money, and that's it.
The money too, though. You're collecting.
It's a great gig to have. A lot of this day and age, it's all computerized. And one of my neighbors, he works for Live Nation back in Los Angeles. And I was talking to him about it. He goes, Wilkie, you go in there. Yeah, he goes, you go in the box office and it's 99% done for you. It's all paper, computerized. You look at the numbers. If it all works out, then guess what? You're done. Not like, what do you mean you got 5 drum risers? We don't need 5 drum risers because we don't have 5 drummers. What are you talking about? They just throw all kinds of nonsense in there to try to bring that money down, less to give you all the other nonsense.
Wasn't that money set aside to pay Granny's wages? I think that wasn't it. That was to pay Granny.
Picking on me today.
So CBGBs, we didn't mention that in the iconic venues, but Courtney's asking if any of you have ever been there or worked there.
Been there?
You've been there, yeah.
Never worked there.
Yeah. So what was your impression of CBGBs? And I'm guessing you were
New
there
York.
Yeah.
New York, late night. I mean, after a rock and roll gig, it was fantastic.
Can you remember any bands that you saw there?
No. Well, look at it.
No.
Oh.
Can you remember anything? No.
No.
You're the one that would
you
remember.
There, you don't remember.
I remember going in. That's about it.
If you remember, you were never there.
Right.
You don't remember getting carried out then in an ambulance? No. Yeah. Actually, just talking about organizing shit in different conditions, you, of course, Granny, did the infamous Zaire concert, the Rumble in the Jungle concert. That must have been quite the experience to pull that together.
Oh, yeah, but I didn't organize anything on that. I mean, Mal mentioned Albert Lawrence, nickname was Spot. He was a really well-connected guy, and he's a production manager, the guy that puts the events together for the promoter and works with all the unions and all the different things. I was a hired hand, and him and a guy called Harvey worked with King Crimson. It was just literally, what you doing next week? I said, well, I've just come back from a world tour. Give me a week to recuperate. What do I need to do? Is to get yellow fever shots, get this and that, get a visa, go into Zaire. So I didn't organize anything on that. I mean, I wouldn't want to pretend I did, but it was an incredible experience. we would organize the set changes. You know, all these different artists and configurations, and we would work with them. So on the changeover, stuff got moved to the right place. But incredible.
It was incredible, but it must have been pretty tough to do that, given
the heat, just the heat. I mean,
and
it was a huge stage. They did a good job on the stage. If you've ever, there's a couple of movies out, films, and it wasn't like you were cramped. It was designed for it, because it was Chip Monk who did Woodstock, and I was in touch with him a couple of months ago. He was amazed at my transporting capacity for keeping things, and I sent him a couple of bits and pieces on the. He couldn't believe it. Like I've got a page of the show rehearsals in Zaire with all the different times and stuff.
Wow! See, you should be writing that book.
Well, maybe down the road.
But I'm just impressed by because it wasn't like they would host many big rock and roll gigs in Zaire.
Well, he wanted the glories. Mobutu Seko, or his full name is. He was a dictator. Whatever he wanted, he got. That was him.
It's him there, yeah. So that must have been a hell of an experience. So I mean, just again, different from trundling up and down the A1 in a van.
Different from anything I'd ever done. Yeah. Absolutely. And it was one of those moments. I mean, you'd just be sitting and going, I'm in the heart of Africa. You know, a couple of years ago, I was driving a van for Mother Wouldn't Like It in the West End, a minivan. You know, and then next thing you know, I'm on the road, and then it's just the 70s was amazing.
And James Brown was right there.
Oh, yeah. I had hardly any contact with the bands themselves, but
well, you'd see them on the night though.
Oh yeah, we'd see them in the rehearsals, and you'd have a little bit of chit chat here and there, but it was all business. It was a lot of.
There's your visa.
Yeah, I love this. I remember the guy's name, Kasesa Wadulamba, was the name of the guy that authorized my visa.
Right down the bottom there, well pronounced. Yes,
I think that's his name anyway.
Were they? Was some of that in French? Were they a French?
Yeah. Well, the Belgian Congo,
Belgian Congo. Okay, right.
République de Zaire.
Yeah.
Well, all of the streets coming in from the airport, you know, we'd fly in on a 747 Alitalia. I've got good memory for that kind of thing. And you literally stepped out of the airport into like a ramshackle old taxi, and the term then was third world. You don't say that anymore, but you could smell the jungle. It were literally passing people that were carrying pots on their heads, and all the boulevards were named after days of the revolution when they kicked the Belgians out, which was only about 10 years before. Sharpsville massacres and this, that, the other.
I remember that. Yeah. It was,
so you were aware of all that, but you were with the band, you know, nothing's going to happen to you.
No one's going to touch you with James Brown.
You're a roadie. No one's.
Because you weren't really with any one band at that gig. That was more of you were with the event,
production crew,
the event for that. And hell of a thing. It's a shame Wilco isn't able to get back in, unfortunately, because I was going to talk to him about. We'll save it for next week. His Sing Sing experience, which he wasn't in there, you know, like he was in prison last week. He wasn't in Sing Sing permanently. Just, you know,
he's lucky they didn't detain him. Like the British police might have sent a message of it. Hey, while you got him.
That's right. Yeah.
You know.
And then there's a Turkish prison looking for him too. But
like one of those scams are like, come see a show. Come see a show. Oh. You get to stay.
Yeah, stay for the ambience.
So we got one of our friend Mr. Craigs here with a relatively famous guy. I don't know who that is. That's
his bank manager,
Alvin Lee? No, I don't know. It's his bank manager. That's it. Yeah, it's certain Mr. David Gilmour. I think is David telling you he wants another cherry in his cocktail, or what is he?
Oh, David wasn't the kind to say I would need a cherry in a cocktail. He definitely wasn't. He would put his own cherry.
Right.
But, and you know, getting back to going into East Germany or beyond Iron Curtain on that tour, Pink Floyd, we done 10 shows in Moscow.
Oh, right. Okay. So was it still Soviet Russia then?
Absolutely Soviet Russia.
Right.
And we played a show at the Olympic Stadium in Athens. And the next day, all the equipment and the personnel were loaded onto an Antonov, one of those huge military airplanes. and off we went to Moscow.
Wow.
And we all, the band personnel, we all went into this first class area, and the crew on the plane went, no, you can't come in here. This is reserved for VIPs. And we went, yeah, we are the VIPs.
That's right.
With that, they disappeared. We never seen them again for the rest of the flight. No safety. Put your harnesses on. Put your, tray tables up. Nothing. We didn't see them. They disappeared on us.
I heard that in like rural areas in China and Russia, that you could strap hang on a plane if you were willing. Like you could, like in a tube train, hang on.
I can believe that, because there was nothing on this plane. We just did our own thing on the plane, and then we went to Moscow, and that was an eye opener. We had 10 days in Moscow. It took me about 12 hours to check everybody into the hotel, because we were walking around the hotel and they were literally banging on doors and throwing people out of the rooms at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, and then saying, "Oh, this is a room. You can have this one now."
Can you remember the hotel? Was it that famous? There's a famous one in Moscow that where all the spies used to stay at and the ambassadors.
You know what? I can't remember, because we were never given information on it. We were just taken there.
Need to know basis.
It really was. And I know it was like a city block square, and it was 4 stories, and each wing had its own reception. There was the main reception when you went in, and then when you went on the floor, there was another reception. When you went round the corners, reception.
It's just all receptions, no rooms.
Job creation, social estate.
Social estate. Yeah.
I think it had 4,000 rooms. I think there was 1,000 rooms on each floor.
Wow.
I know it was, and we were really told, emphasize, be very careful. Do not buy this on the black market. Do not change money. Do not buy gold. Do not buy this. Do not buy that. Everything was for sale in the hotel. As you walked around the corridors, there was people standing in the doors. It was like a scene from a movie. You want caviar? No. Yeah. You want girls? No. You want Rolex? No. You want rubles? No. Anything you wanted, they had in these rooms in this hotel.
Did you sell them your old jeans? Because they were worth a lot of money, jeans in Russia.
We sold them. We could get anything for a pack of Marlboro.
Wow.
I'm not joking you.
No, anything, literally. Yeah.
Anything. Like a toilet seat. Or toilet paper.
You could get toilet paper would be handy, yeah.
I went down for breakfast one morning and I said, "Oh, what's for breakfast?" They went, "Peas."
I was going to say, what was the food like? What was the food
We
like?
have peas today. We went, "Yeah." What else you got? We got peas.
So you're saying they had peas in our time?
Oh, Brian, I love it.
Hey,
I love it.
Oh God.
So the food wasn't the best.
No.
The vodka would be okay.
We took our own food truck. A semi-refrigerated semi, full of food, and that was a performance just to get them to clear that, because they didn't know what courgettes were or zucchini.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't steal half of that.
So we just told them they were cucumbers. Oh, tick them off the list.
I thought they would have stolen a lot of that. I mean, you must have been things must have gone missing.
We did give them care packages.
Oh, right, okay.
We made gifts to them, but they didn't steal anything. I think
maybe they
were probably told because we were guests of the government.
Yeah, it could have been.
And one of our crew, a female member of the crew, one of the caterers, and she called her boyfriend back in England. And about an hour later, she gets a knock on the door. Hello, I understand you're very lonely. Would you like some company? So obviously, the phone calls were listened into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have an image of this. There's some images available to be seen.
We were playing indoors, 40,000 seats in a soccer stadium indoors in Moscow. And the stage crew, all the stage hands and everything, were all the Soviet army conscripts.
Yeah, here we go.
So we were doing great deals with them, swapping stuff.
Not the greatest of images, but there are some. There's
Yeah.
The boys, boxes of cigarettes just out of sight. The bribery cigarettes. Just
honestly, you know, a banana nearly caused a riot in the hotel.
There must have been. I mean, was the actual gig though? The gigs, was the setup in the stadium or wherever it was okay? Was everything pretty smooth there?
Well, it was very, like I said, all the crew, the stagehands and everybody that were helping it, and we needed a sizable crew. They were all conscripts, army conscripts, and they just did not know what was going on. So it was very hard work for our crew because they had to direct them. You know, we got there eventually. You know, they were all young kids and they were very keen. You know,
well, major Western rock band. Yeah, I mean, here's
absolutely.
There's the arena,
and we had the Minister of Culture that organized these gigs for us in Moscow, and we sat him out at the mixing desk, and we sat him next to the British ambassador or the cultural guy from the British embassy. They had never met before. They had never met.
And yet they're in the same business.
yeah, they were in the same business. They had never met.
What was do you recall the appetite for the music in the population in Moscow? I mean, were they really keen to see the band? And they knew the material.
They loved it, you know. Yeah. Absolutely loved the gigs. The audience were very, you know, Pink Floyd enthusiastic, you know.
They must. Did they know all the material? To your best of your knowledge, was it because Western stuff was suppressed in the East for a long time?
It was a cultural thing. It was, you know, based on a cultural exchange, I guess.
Yeah,
you know.
It was probably.
But and there was a real disaster while we were there on the 9th show or something. So we had one show to go, but because in Russia, when there's a disaster like that, this train wreck and X amount of people were killed, they cancelled the last show because they have a national day of mourning.
Right.
And so we said, well, we've got to leave. We can't, you know. And they said, no, you've got to stay and do the next show. We were going, but we can't. We have another show in Finland.
All right,
you know, and because of logistics, we won't be able to make it. They said, we guarantee you will make it.
Yeah.
Right. So we stayed. We missed the 10th show. We did it on the 11th day. The trucks were loaded, and we had army escort from Moscow to the Finnish-Russian border. And the truck drivers said they could not believe it. They were running people off the road. They did not slow down for anything. And they went through the center of St. Petersburg with a fleet of semis, which are just not allowed in St. Petersburg because of all these precious buildings that
rock and roll, you see, rock and roll.
They powered through it all They just powered through. And there we were. We'd done the show in Turku Festival, on time with REM. I believe it was REM.
Wow.
Our Russia, at that time, I thought, if Russia decide they want to take the whole of Europe, that's what they'll do. Because they'll just go, they won't stop until they reach Brussels,
Well, as long as Pink Floyd's Gear's on board, you could have conquered the world, couldn't they?
Well, that's it. We were conquering the world on that tour. That was 22 months, 200 shows.
Yeah.
A monster of a tour.
So, Granny, have you ever had military escort for your gigs?
Well, I think we had some going on in Zaire. There was military connections, but nothing like what Mal's talking about. That was that's classic. I mean, I've never heard some of that from Mal. I'm entranced. That was like real legendary rock and roll touring.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, we had to drag it out of him as well.
We even had,
when we first got Mal on this, he said, I don't remember anything.
We had some members of the crew going out for a night out, and they got a taxi, and we were told the taxis, don't pay them in dollars or pounds. They'll ask you for them, but don't pay them. Rubles only. And these guys went out to a bar, wherever it was. They come out and they were getting into a taxi, and this guy wouldn't take them, or he was demanding dollars from them. And these two guys came out of the shadows and spoke to the taxi driver in Russian, and he tipped his hat, getting guys free of charge back to the hotel. So they were followed. It was real.
That's incredible stuff. I mean, it's like spy movies.
It was very touchy. It was very touchy stuff.
Yeah. Do you think roadies are just guys that hum amplifiers about the gigs in clubs and stuff? You guys have been in the Zaire, in Russia, in East Germany, in some incredible periods of world history. Roadies are world history.
I keep saying we're the rock and roll warriors.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I'm not kidding. I mean, bands have been everywhere in the world, and who gets the bands there? You guys, So anyway, we've kind of reached the top of the hour, so I think we'll start wrapping up if that's okay with you guys. I'd like to thank first, obviously, I want to thank you guys and Wilco and for being such wonderful rack-on tours.
Is that what it is?
The word. Or rack on tour would probably be the girls
Racks
that you're
on tour.
Racks on tour. You've just thought of that one. Thanks guys for sharing these memories yet again, and we've barely scratched the surface, so to speak.
We could go on about this forever,
and we will go on about it forever. Thank you to everyone in the chat for being here. We see you all, and the regulars and a few new people, and it's great to see you. Thank you for supporting us and for being here. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and click all the bell things and likes and share it all out and all that good stuff. We do appreciate it. I'd also like to thank Dustin for holding my hand metaphorically. And please go subscribe to Keto Simple, where Dustin will share how to live a healthier life.
I need to speak to you.
Yes.
Yeah. Where was he in 1971?
Get my cholesterol levels down.
So please go subscribe to Dustin and Keto Simple. Thanks, mate, for being here.
I wouldn't miss it for the world. I love being on here with you guys. The stories, everything is amazing, and I'm so lucky you invite me and I have the opportunity to hang out with all you guys.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you, mate. And you're my safety blanket, my comfort blanket in case things go wrong.
Weighted blanket, I think you mean.
That beard is a blanket for us all.
And then I would like to plug myself, as the actress said to the bishop. Please go subscribe to That 70s Rock Fan. And on Monday, we're having on It's Only Talk and Roll, 3 p.m. Mountain Time. Motorhead Madness. Yes, we are going to be talking about Motorhead and making everyone's ears bleed. So that will be fun. So please, everybody, go and click your notifications for that and make sure you see that show. Great. So, yeah, any final words, gentlemen?
Where's my per diem?
Probably under your bed.
Well, I think you pretty much used all the cash up, and because you're the one that got paid the most, from what I can tell. So.
Oh well.
I've posted the link to the Monday Motorhead show.
He didn't get paid the most. He just spent the least.
I have this reputation for being cheap. I'm selective on what I spend my money on.
Yeah,
That's
well,
a different way of putting it.
He spends it on diaries because he's got them all behind him and he's written everything in them. But thank you, gents. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Hope you all enjoyed the rest of your week. We will see you again very soon. So till then,
same time, same place.
Same time, same place, same faces, probably. But till then, take care and keep on rocking, everybody.